to Finals Mailbag. My name is Clarky, and joining me, as always, is the wonderful man from out west, Damo.
I've been eating dinner and I feel like I'm going to burp, and I was worried that when I opened my mouth, it was just going to be a massive burp that came through the microphone. I'm glad it didn't. Hey, I'm good.
It would have been really good to just sort of signal out our year with some ASMR. Do you have like a voice or like a character voice that you feel like you can do well?
Define like, character voice.
Well, like, do you like have a guy where you're like, if someone's like, I need you to do like a voice, like a silly voice or something that it isn't Damo? Do you have like a go-to? Like, are you like an English accent kind of guy? Are you like a Welsh?
It depends what you want.
Damo dealer's choice. Yes, and like, do you have one that you're particularly proud of?
I mean, in my place of work, I meet lots of interesting people, and I find myself imitating them all the time. So I have
to be more personable.
So I have developed a repertoire of voices that I can do, including imitating my own co-workers.
It's huge that you would choose to do clientele and co-workers. Dangerous spots, Damo. Maybe we introduce these characters over the next season of Mailbag, keep it fresh, keep the cast rotating through.
Oh, I feel like they have slipped in at some points, but I haven't announced them.
Yeah, that's fair. I've been trying to improve like a repertoire. Obviously, I have a daughter, and she's almost 1, and the sort of like the back half of infant era is very much, she's like a little person now, and yes, she's always had personality, she's always been quirky and cute, and I absolutely love her to death, but like, you go through all these phases where all of a sudden she really becomes interactive. So there's lots of games, now there's starting to become lots of voices, and there's lots of circumstances, but because she's still really young, around that 1-year-old age, and new and older parents will understand this, and Damo, you might understand this if you've got like younger cousins and nieces and nephews. Sometimes when you start one thing, all of a sudden it has to be done to death, because they're like, I loved it when you did this thing, and you got to keep doing it.
It's like when you read a story and all the characters have different voices, and then the kid wants that book with all the voices every single time you read it to them.
Yeah, to the point where my partner has been telling me to stop doing the voices. I've been running around with a bit of like a Cave of Wonders voice going on from Aladdin, and chasing my daughter around the house because she's crawling now. And I chase her and I go, what are you doing, in like the Cave of Wonders style voice, which I won't subject our listeners to, because even though I'm confident in it, I don't think I'm ready to put that gem out there, that diamond in the rough, if you will.
I was almost going to do it on your behalf, but then I decided against it because I wasn't entirely sure what you meant.
No, the Cave of Wonders, the big lion head in the desert that Aladdin walks into. You know what? I'll do one if you do one.
I'm nodding, but
I'm not.
I'll
give it a. We can do a voice off and have the listeners decide for next week who won.
See, you said Aladdin, but for some reason in my mind I saw Lion King. And
who were you thinking of?
And all I saw was the Mufasa in the sky when they're walking through that plain area, like the grassland area, and yeah, I almost imitated that voice.
So you think of James L. Jones,
and I can't do James L. Jones.
No. Cave of Wonders is more like a real, like, gruff, like grisly, almost like fantastical, mystical kind of foreboding voice. It's not like a normal person kind of voice. Like, there's a little bit of like a raw kind of to it.
Like a Brian Blessed voice.
Yeah, kind of. Anyway, this tangent has been brought to you by my terrible brain. Damo, we usually do what caught your eye this week, but I
think we know what caught your eye this week, because Melbourne announced their new coach. And I wanted to ask you, Stephen King, how do you feel about Stephen King? You're the Melbourne fan in the room. How do you feel about Stephen King? Because obviously they interviewed the likes of Nathan Buckley. Hayden Skipworth didn't partake in the process, even though he was in the early handful they narrowed down. Daniel Giansiracusa was there. Obviously, I think I mentioned Nathan Buckley, Brendan Lade as well, and I can't remember the other one, but they narrowed it down and they got to Stephen King. How do you feel?
I'm a big fan of The Shining, but I just don't know how well his skill set's going to apply in a football context. It's very interesting. I almost was glad that it wasn't Buckley. I think the longer that I thought about it, the less I felt like it was a good idea from a football development perspective. And Melbourne copped a lot of flack for choosing Stephen King over in quotes Buckley. He's saying that, we're doing it because, Bucks is in dealings with Taz and he's going to go there, and he said he didn't want to. He said he wanted to meet with Tasmania again before he decided whether or not to accept it. Blah blah blah. But ultimately, I think the media seemed like they were more mad about spending 4 weeks or so talking about Nathan Buckley being the next coach of Melbourne when it wasn't the case, and it kind of just seemed a bit more like butthurt rather than. I think Melbourne probably picked the guy that they liked the best.
The media got upset for 2 reasons, I think. They didn't get to announce the news by someone leaking it to them.
10 out.
The Melbourne CEO, is it Paul Guerra, the new CEO?
Yeah, Paul Guerra.
He called, I think it was Jared Waitley, almost straight away as soon as they knew, for him to break the news. No one else got the news ahead of time. Tom Morris wasn't able to tweet about it. It actually went through proper channels, and you can see it was a deliberate act by Paul Guerra to stop the leaks getting through. He wants news to come out deliberately, which I think
respect for Paul for that.
Which, yeah, I think that's a really good way to sort of tell whoever it is that is leaking all this info that, we don't want it to happen anymore. Like, we're going to find whoever's leaking the news, all that sort of thing.
Find the rat.
The second thing that I read or heard about was in his interview, he was talking about himself being more of a man manager than an actual coach. He feels that he should be in charge of the line groups under him that are in charge of those players. So he's not in charge of 44 players per se. He's more like an NFL coach where he might call the plays on game day, but you've got the defensive coach that's in charge of all the defensive plays. You've got the midfield coach that's in charge of all the midfield plays. And then you've got the forward coach that's going to be in charge of all the forward plays. And then they all report to Stephen King, and then Stephen King sort of goes from there. Rather than Stephen King having his hand in every pot, he felt that him controlling the guys underneath him to then carry his word forward would be more of a modern coaching style. And I think Melbourne really fell in love with that philosophy of his coaching. Whereas you see coaches like Matthew Nicks, who has to be across everything, but you're seeing it more and more now. Like Craig McRae, I don't think has much to do with the tactical training side of things. I think he manages his assistants and tells them what he wants on a game day, but he doesn't have much of a hand in actually putting the training together and all that. Same as Chris Fagan at Brisbane. I don't think he has much of a say in the training regime. He just knows what he wants and how he wants it to look, and then puts his assistants to work to bring that to life.
Yeah, I think as well, on top of that, it'll be interesting to see what the group coaches do from here. Obviously, Choco is not coming back next year. We're also probably going to be seeing the back end. I wouldn't be surprised if seeing a couple more of the assistant coaches leaving at some point for whatever reason. But this is the time now where it's kind of Stephen King's coming in from his presser with Brad Green and Paul Guerra. It seems like he's got a relatively clear vision of what he wants Melbourne to become. And I'm preparing myself as a fan for next year to just be another write-off. Like, it's now we're in a growth phase, so I kind of just have to be okay with being middling and with potential. Because of the list we've got that potential baked in. But realistically, we're going to be hopefully learning an all new way to play the Melbourne Football Club, and we kind of need all those chips to settle. I'm actually very happy to hear the way Stephen King talked about his approach to coaching and his wants for the playing group, essentially saying that, oh no, we're not, like some journalist had asked about how Melbourne's current game style compared to what he wanted to do, and his response was essentially, oh no, we won't be doing that anymore. Which is great to hear, because I think that's what Melbourne fans want. And I think he's going to stick around for seemingly a longer period. So I'm actually pretty chuffed about building something. And if it turns out to be crap in a couple of years, sure, let's be resentful then, but give him grace.
As a Melbourne fan, are you excited for the new age of Melbourne Demons?
I'm hopeful. I'm not excited. Hopeful, I think, is the correct term to describe where I'm at, where I don't want to... excitement kind of would get my hopes too high.
I like that he comes from... that he's been in the game for a long time and has seen many successful systems.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, correct.
He's been at Geelong for quite a while. He was at Gold Coast under Stuart Dew for a while, and then was a caretaker coach once Stuart Dew got sacked. So he has been in the head coach's role for a 6 to 8 week block there. And I believe he was at the Western Bulldogs for a time as well. So he has been at clubs during successful or strong periods of time. So I just think he's going to bring something good to the club. And he's been waiting for a head coaching opportunity for a long time. And we've seen these coaches that have come in after being ready for so long, and they step in and it's like a duck to water. Like they were meant to be coaching almost, like that's what you see. So yeah, I'm excited for you, even if you're not. I think I think Melbourne will be exciting under Stephen King.
We'll figure it out, because we need to know which of our players are staying and which one of our players are going. Trade period has already been quite hectic, with the likes of Zach Merritt rather publicly announcing that he's exploring other options, which is a whole fallout. As a neutral, Damo, how did you react to the way that story has gone down? How that story is still going down.
It feels... It looks messy, and it probably is, but I think it's messy because of the way that both sides have reacted to the news. Like there are mature ways for clubs to react to news like this, but then there's also messy ways. And Essendon coming out, their president, their CEO, other players, their coach, all that sort of thing, almost condemning Zach Merritt for weighing up his options, and it almost means that he can't even go back, even if he goes and finds all the information he wants and decides that he doesn't want to leave. Like, it almost sounds like they're telling him that he has to go now. But it was 12 months ago, maybe even 2 years ago, they told him that he was more than welcome to go and assess his options. And I know that Brad Scott was only just coming in, or had only just come in, and all that, but there was a moment in time where they were allowing him to go and do this, and since that moment, it hasn't really gone away anywhere. And you'll see underneath Essendon posts when they lose, there are fans telling Zach Merritt to leave because he doesn't deserve what the Bombers are putting up every week. Like now that it's actually happening, we're seeing fans, which I've been through seeing fan favorites request trades. It's not a nice feeling. So I understand completely how they're feeling, but in the same breath, I'm not telling these players to leave after we lose. Whereas I have seen multiple people telling the likes of Zach Merritt, he doesn't deserve this. If he wants to go and get a flag, he should. And now that's possibly the case. They don't want him to go anywhere.
It's an interesting position to be in, because he is such an was such an influential leader at the club, and he had a very prominent position as the face of the football club. We can see parallels to the Oscar Allen incident earlier this year, where I think if that wasn't WA football, probably would have been a much bigger deal. I think it's not to say that Zach Merritt is blameless, because I also think that the way he's gone about it isn't great, but it also says to me that there is more happening behind closed doors than we know about, in terms of, yes, if he's been exploring options for a couple of years or whatever, that's all well and good, but the relationships must have gotten worse, or he is not happy with the direction that, a whole season gives you a good idea of the direction. And maybe there is a circumstance where he has gone behind closed doors and gone, I'm not confident playing in this group. I would like to explore those options. And they've told him to absolutely get stuffed. So he's gone nuclear, which is a bit petulant. But then, like you said, the reaction from Brad Scott doesn't look great. It makes him look a bit, throwing the toys out with the bathwater, or whatever it is. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I thought Mason Redman's statement was quite good.
It was quite good. It was quite good until it was revealed that he was also assessing his options and decided to stay.
Yeah, I think all players should be allowed to explore whatever options they feel. But we love Zach. We love Zach. They've kind of dug their own grave, both sides, where it's been incredibly untenable in the way it's been handled, and everyone sucks here. If Zach leaves, good for him. Go get your bag, I guess. If he stays, then I hope that the club and supporters are mature enough to go, well, we did tell you to explore, so let's just start at zero.
So, I mean, there are other players that are looking for moves, like other big names other than Zach Merritt. So Charlie Curnow is also possibly going somewhere. He's listed.
Am I not in the circles that are upset about Charlie Curnow leaving, or is it the same?
To be honest, I thought everyone knew he was leaving already. Like during the season, I'm pretty like it was already being talked about that he was going to leave. I know that he hadn't requested anything yet, but I thought it wasn't new information when he actually said that it was actually revealed that he was in fact exploring his options, and he said Geelong, Gold Coast, or Sydney. But the deal for him is going to be very messy, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's not fair for any of those clubs to get him.
I don't think the departure is going to be messy. I think the transaction will be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other names that also want to move, like Calamar Chi at Brisbane. He's unsigned still and probably moving somewhere. There's many names out there.
Is he in his 30s, Archie?
He is 27 or 28.
27? Okay, so he's like a bit more of a mature player. I think he gets snapped up pretty quickly by any club, really. He's quite... I like Archie.
I would love him at Fremantle, but I don't think that's where he's going. So if I just go through the names that are possibly moving through trade, you've got James Warple potentially going to Geelong. Rowan Marshall is assessing his options after TDK is arriving at the Saints. Sam Flanders is looking around. He's been meeting with clubs. There is a cloud over Christian Petrarca and whether he stays at Melbourne or not.
I've heard things about the Petrarca one where he is open, both Melbourne and him are open to exploring, but apparently he is not as fervent about leaving as he was last year. That is what I have heard.
Yeah, it sounds like he's excited about the possibility of a new coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It would make no sense.
Zach Bailey might be on the move, so he's a free agent next season. So clubs are trying to get him now and sew him up for the future there. And then you've got names like Liam Reedy, Will Brodie, Charlie Spargo, Elijah Sardis, Leka Leah, Liam Ryan, those sorts of names that are also going to be moving in a trade as well. So it's going to be an interesting trade period. Definitely very interesting trade period.
That's it. And obviously with a very interesting trade period, Damo, maybe a very interesting podcast.
Yeah, so last season we obviously had moving parts with Stephen of SDS Supercoach. we're not going to do a series this year. We are just going to do one singular episode to be released the day after deadline day. And it's just going to be called Trade Bag. There will be guests on it. I've got Stephen returning, plus we'll have other guys on as well. It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a fun episode. Tune in. Clarky, I think you'll be there. I'll definitely be there because I'm hosting. I mean, I hope I'll be there. But yeah, it's going to be a fun day, and hopefully we can make a fun episode of it, and hopefully some good trades have gone down.
Yeah, AFL is nonsense, so of course good and bad trading will go down. You know what else is nonsense, Damo? The final week of finals that we just had. We're going to run through the footy results relatively quickly and just give you our view on how the preliminary finals are going to shape up this week. Damo, on Friday, September 12th, which feels like a lifetime ago as we're recording this on the 17th. The Adelaide Crows were soundly defeated by Hawthorn to the tune of 34 points, and all neutral football listeners, listeners and watchers just went, yeah, good. We spoke about the reasons before that last year, but it was very clearly, I think, everything was going Hawthorn's way. And I said this on our sister show, the Falcon, which I'm hosting. The difference between these two teams is that Adelaide are just Hawthorn from last year. Hawthorn, up-and-coming team, incredibly talented, probably overachieved last year from what people expected. Got to finals, straight sets. Didn't have the experience, they didn't have the gusto to carry that through. And well. Look at it, 2025, Adelaide Crows significantly overperformed from what people thought they were going to do this year. Have a great, young, talented list with up-and-comers. Straight sets, baby. Hawthorn using that benefit of understanding the need and the differences in finals football, as well as adding in those little pieces. Like, Hawthorn have done this without Will Day. Like, Josh Ward had an amazing game. Jai Newcomb looks like he's built to play finals. Jack Gunston has been reanimated like some kind of football Falkenstein. Frankenstein. Falkenstein is an old retired bit from the other podcast. I think that was my take on this game for the whole. What did you make of it, Nemo?
Hawthorn came out of the blocks, and like those 3 quick goals at the beginning kind of told you that Hawthorn meant business. But I thought that after those 3 goals, it didn't feel like Hawthorn were doing anything entirely dominant. It just felt like Adelaide were worse.
Okay, I can see that.
And I don't know how this week's going to go, but if Hawthorn play the same way that they did in the semi-final, I worry for what Geelong is going to do for them. I feel like that's an intensity that needs to go up again.
Yeah, we probably want to see the intensity that they came in with in the elimination final against GWS, that like kill or be killed mentality. It's not just about getting the job done. So I completely agree with you on that one. It's tough to see them come in and play Geelong and just go, I don't know who I want to win this. I genuinely don't know who I want to win this, because they're both kind of like, I'm completely neutral on both. I have things I like about the teams and I have things I hate about the teams. Most of the things I hate, they've had success in the 2000s football era. And let someone else have it for once, you bastards. Be bad for a little bit.
All 4 of the teams in the prelim finals have dominated the last like 24 years of grand finals. Like, at least one of them have appeared in like 18 of 24 or something. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. No, all of them. So it's
combined.
Like, combined. Sorry. It's either been Collingwood, Hawthorn, Brisbane, or Hawthorn. Geelong. What did I say? Geelong.
You said all of them, but Geelong.
Anyway, all 4 prelim teams have been in 18 of the last 24 grand finals. And it feels like all of the work that went into having fun grand finals the last few years has ended.
It's going to be... Anyway, On the Saturday, Brisbane went up against the Gold Coast Suns in a Q-Clash elimination must-win derby of the century. However, it wasn't played like the derby of the century. Instead, it was played like Brisbane versus Gold Coast circa 2021. Brisbane trounced the Gold Coast on this one. It was almost depressing to watch because Gold Coast, I feel pretty comfortable in saying, would have been the last good vibes team left.
Good vibes for some, yeah. I think last week the elimination final where against Fremantle, I feel like Gold Coast, I feel like that was their grand final. I feel like great achievement to have qualified for finals and won your first final, but then it got to this final and they had no tricks left in the bag. And that's because of an inexperienced group, never been to finals before. You could definitely see who had been in finals before. John Noble, Daniel Rioli would just continue, just kept going, but no one else really had really had the mettle to go with Brisbane the way that they were playing. So yeah, I think it was just a difference of experience in the end that made the result the way it was, but it also felt like the players were kind of tired and felt like they had achieved what they wanted to achieve this year. Even though them winning this game would have been awesome, I think what they did this season, including winning their first final, is a massive tick regardless of what this result is.
Yeah, 100%. Take everything that I said about the Friday game and apply it to the Saturday game, but reverse. So it's the home team that was the more experienced side. I don't think there's much more to say about that, but that means that the Brisbane Lions were going up against Collingwood. That's going to be an interesting game.
So the way I look at all of the prelim final teams and who I think is going to get into the grand final, I think a semi-final team, a semi-final winner wins, and then it's whoever had and then one of the teams that had the week off wins. So I think it's going to be either Collingwood and Hawthorn or Geelong and Brisbane.
My tip for the grand final is going to be Geelong and Collingwood.
I'm going with Geelong and Brisbane.
Very good. Oh my god, I forgot about Supercoach finals. How did your Supercoach finals team go last week?
Better than week one, but I'm still having lots of pain with it. No one's scoring well. It feels like you need to go for the big old vibe picks. You need to go for the guys that you think are going to be fun on the big stage because those are the guys that are getting all the points.
It's very weird to have this reality where, ironically, being able to select any player makes it so much harder to pick the correct players. I use air quotes in correct players, but to maximize your score is so much harder when all of the guardrails are off. Right, you're not limited by price, you're only slightly limited by team, but really it's not all that restrictive in how many people it lets you pick per team. So I end up with 1149, which I think was probably right in the middle of how everyone kind of did from what I could see.
I got 1194.
Yeah. There were a couple of really good selections for me, and the Jack Jitterman call did not work out for me because it turns out he was also carrying a little bit of an injury.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know that before I picked my team, but thanks for letting us know anyway.
Yeah, it's all good. It's fine. Hey, should we go through our week 3 teams as we look ahead, starting with the defenders like we did last week, Damo? I'm just going to go right out of the gate and just go, I've got Darcy Wilmot and Tom Stewart.
I've got Darcy Wilmot and James Sicily.
Why the Sis Dog?
I don't know. I just feel like he's going to be a good one this week.
I just think he's neat.
He has a good history against Geelong.
That's fair. I think I'm going off your suggestion in the first week for Tom Stewart, who is the player that we have a differential on, in that Tom Stewart is just kind of a finals player. He's just got that vibe about him, and I think he'll probably need to work quite a lot for this game. I don't think Hawthorn's just going to let him have it. What's your thinking behind Wilmot?
I mean, he just looked incredible against Gold Coast, and I just think against Collingwood give up a lot of points to halfbacks. We saw how much points they gave up to the likes of Rory Laird and Josh Worrell the week in the first week of finals, I feel like Darcy Wilmot is in that mold that can take advantage of those points that they give up.
Okay, I completely agree with that. Who's in your midfield, Damo?
My midfield is Will Ashcroft, Josh Dunkley, and Max Holmes.
Okay. Do you want to talk me through your selection process?
Will Ashcroft is a player made for finals. He just looks so clean in the contest. The pressure doesn't faze him. He always wants to move the ball forward, so he's in a lot of scoring chains, and he just gets points off the back of it and is just, looks amazing, with that hair flowing behind him. And and Josh Dunkley, I mean, to be honest, he didn't have the best game against Gold Coast, but the fact that he had 18 tackles saved his score. So when he's not getting the ball, he's hunting down whoever does have it so he can lay those tackles, which is huge in finals. And I just like that selection. And then Max Holmes is Max Holmes.
Yeah, I think Josh Dunkley broke the club record for tackles in a game with 18, I believe, for Brisbane. And that is absolute insanity to have 18 tackles. That's crazy man numbers. Moving over to my team, I've got Nicholas Dacos, Maximum Holmes, and Jai Newcomb. Max Holmes is Max Holmes. Jai Newcomb seems to just be a finals player. He is just a workhorse and willing to back that in based on the form of his 2 games. And Nick Dacos is Nick Dacos. So it's kind of a bit of a boom or bust selection there. Notable omission from both of us in Bailey Smith, although we haven't got to the flex yet.
Yeah, also notable omission of Nick Dacos for me. I feel like going for the usual suspects hasn't worked for me in terms of my score. So I'm kind of just going a little outside the box and not choosing the obvious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of mixing it up just enough, but then going with guys that I have confidence in their football ability, not necessarily confidence in what they're going to score, if that makes sense. Rucks. Let's talk ruck, baby. I'm letting it roll. Yeah, I'm letting it roll. Lloyd Meek. Let it ride, baby. No notes. Darcy Fort is old. Oscar McInerney is old. Darcy Cameron is kind of good, kind of bad.
To be honest, it's either Darcy Cameron up against Darcy Fort or Oscar McInerney, or it is Lloyd Meek up against whoever the fuck Geelong put into the ruck.
Is Reece Stanley back?
Someone
is.
Someone. Well, I don't think he played. No, I think they had Sam DeConning playing as the ruckman in that first final. So
I don't remember. It was a whole lifetime ago, Damo. I can't be expected to remember more than 2 weeks of football at a time. Not in the middle of NFL season. Moving on to the forward line, Damo, you said I was going to hate this.
Oh, and you 100% will. Jordan De Goey and Jeremy Cameron.
But that's why.
What do you mean, why?
You've chosen the sex pest. Why?
I'm playing Supercoach.
Where morals no longer exist.
Did you know that Jordan De Goey puts most of his paycheck into a homeless charity that he runs himself?
Did you know that Jordan De Goey went to Bali and sexually harassed multiple women?
Did he, though?
Yes. Anyway, I've chosen Graham Myers and Jack Gunston.
Fair enough.
No notes on that.
Yeah, no notes. It makes sense.
I'm going full on boom or bust.
Well, as you can see by one of my forward picks, so am I.
Busted is certainly right. Flexibles, I've got Josh Dunkley.
Scott Pendlebury.
Yes, okay. I can see why you would pick the oldest AFL man. It's the time to unleash him, really, isn't it?
Yes.
This is like all gas, no brakes, because wait, has he got another year to go? Has he resigned?
He has re-signed, and he reckons he can go for much longer.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. That man is in pristine condition. But this is where he lets loose, I think. So I completely support that decision. Damo, we got questions this week.
We got questions? Oh,
we got
our VC and C who are our VC and C in our teams?
I haven't set them yet. It was whoever the two highest scorers on my team are. So Josh Dunkley and Max Holmes currently.
Yeah, mine are currently on Ashcroft and Dunkley. It might change.
I would love for you to continue with two players on the same team.
Yeah, it just works.
Look, and who are we to say what you should do if it's just working?
You can't loop, so you get so there's no point doing one and then the other. And it's not like you're using trades, so you can just change it out if someone doesn't play.
That's fair. Let's go to the questions, Damo. We've got one here from Harry. Is it everyone scoring badly in Supercoach finals or just me? I backed Dawson in both weeks with a C or VC and came up short. Ginnivan and Impey were duds, thank God for Rao. Anyway, any good forward options this week? I miss Baslanka with dual position. I think there's actually a lot of interesting forwards this week. I've already picked my two. I just think that Jack Gunston is in superb form. I also don't hate Dylan Moore.
I still like Zach Bailey as an option, even though he didn't score great in the game against Gold Coast. I think he's going to be a good option. I like, you mentioned Jack Gunston, Dylan Moore. Jamie Elliott will be one that Brisbane need to contain.
I did also think of Jamie Elliott. I completely agree with you on that one. Jeremy Cameron is the obvious of the obvious.
Here's one that people won't think about.
Okay, yep, go on.
Patrick Lipinski.
I was thinking of a different Patrick, but yes, I do agree. Patrick Lipinski, most handsome man on Collingwood's list.
He can have quietly good games where he just scores like 110, 115 and no one really talks about him.
Yeah, I find he's just one of those players who constantly flies under the radar. Like, he is just feels like he consistently is just playing good football without really like going one way too far on either side of it. I was thinking of Patrick Dangerfield though.
He loves playing Hawthorn.
He also this is it. If he's got to retire soon, right? Like he probably wants this to let it end.
If Geelong win the flag, I can see him retiring. If they don't, I can see him wanting to try and go around again.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I can absolutely understand that. But I think those are some really good forward options to pick from. Like, they're really varied. They're a little bit standout-ish.
I haven't picked Jordan De Goey. I've picked Patrick Lipinski now. I've talked myself into Patrick Lipinski. Probably the better option anyway.
Don't feel like you have to assign to my moral beliefs. And it wasn't Bali, it was New York. I got my crimes mixed up. Apologies to Jordan De Goey for getting your crimes wrong, sir. Matt.
Yes. And I also got the details of it mixed up with something else as well. So yes.
Anyway, hey, pick Jordan De Goey. Pick Jordan De Goey if you want to, listeners. This is my moral choice, not a reflection of you or your own choices. Matt writes in and asks, he says, "Hi guys, firstly, really appreciate you and the positivity of this podcast. Thanks, Matt. We try to keep it up. The only thing we hate are crimes and slurs, which have been coming thick and fast this year. How do you think the new out of bounds rule will impact scoring next year? What type of player will benefit or be hindered? My initial thoughts have me wondering if it will reduce ruck scoring with reduced throw-ins, but who picks up those points?" This is an excellent question, Matt, and something that we haven't necessarily fully addressed on the podcast. So, Damo, can you just give a bit of background for listeners who may not know?
So, the AFL is going to bring in, or is posing that they will bring in last disposal out of bounds. So, if the ball goes out of bounds after you kick or handball it, then it will be a free kick to the opposition. But there's various factors that come into play about what constitutes last touch out of bounds. If you watch the Sandful or the AFLW, I don't know why I said that weird AFLW, it doesn't actually affect play that much. And the Sandful has put out a report, I think the year after they first brought it in, and it only dropped their boundary throw-ins between the arcs by about an average of about 4 per round, not like per game, per round. So I don't think it will affect it that much. There'll just be players wanting to move the ball far more than create stoppage plays. But I mean, there's also going to be changes to the ruck rules around the ground anyway. So I think we just need to watch for what rules are finally brought in when they announce them, and then adjust accordingly. What type of player will benefit or be hindered? Well, as far as last touch out of bounds and the stoppages that gets removed from that, I don't think it impacts too much, but you might find yourself perhaps wanting to start the slightly cheaper ruckman in your 50-50 call just to get ahead of the fact that the scoring might drop slightly.
Yeah, I think knowing what I know from how this rule is implemented across other leagues, I don't think it will directly affect ruckman scoring for the reason that we think it will. I think maybe it changes how they approach certain ruck contests, because obviously, like you said, Damo, we think of, well, how do we determine last touch if a player is tackled over the line? That would still probably constitute a throw in my head, because player has the ball, they get wrapped up, they have no ability to dispose of the ball. But I think it also, the idea is that it improves and encourages players to be a little bit more accurate with where they're kicking and passing the ball in the middle part of the field, as well as not encouraging them to search for the boundary line as like a safety.
But also next season, there will be a lot of ruckmen who are moving to new clubs that are going to be very cheap, and people will want, and people might actually, we might see some people start with 2 rookie rucks or 2 cheaper rucks and only one like real premium option, because Nick Bryan is probably going to be the main ruck at Essendon. I mentioned Liam Reedy being traded to Carlton. We don't know if he's going to be with or instead of Mark Pitney. There's going to be rucks moving around the competition, and so I think there's going to be some cheap options out there that make our ruck lines in 2026 very interesting to put together.
Yeah, so I agree with Damo where we kind of need to see where the chips fall on those scores, but we'll probably see more of an impact through midfield, I would say, if we had to think about. It depends on how Supercoach decides to score, say, a player who disposes of the ball, it ends up out of bounds, and is that a turnover then? Because the possession would then last touch on that player. I don't know. There's already a lot of grey areas, I think, between like insufficient intent.
I believe in AFLW it is constituted as a free kick against.
Yeah, which would be huge. So that was something that probably you want to think about relating to the contested players.
The likes of your halfbacks and stuff might be really, really cut down by this rule. I think those guys who like to bring the ball out from defense, who, if they don't have an option, might just try and, gamble with the boundary a bit. I think those guys might find their scoring gets beaten up a little bit, just at least to begin with, while they work out how best to manage the rules. So I don't think ruckmen are going to be as affected as people think, but like Clarkie, you said, I think other positions will have to adjust as well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting once we have more data. Thanks for that, Matt. We appreciate you. Jared writes in, Damo, and asks, might be an end of season wrap up question, but happy to hear your opinions after a year of the flex. What have you taken away? Do you think you'll have a different tactic to best utilize the position next year? I actually think that I started wrong with the flex and then moved into the best option for it, which was utilizing DPP in an effective and efficient manner.
I don't think I ever got the hang of it, but I knew what I had to do with it. I will probably be starting a dual position premium in my flex position to start the season, and then if I need to move them later, I will. But if I can find like a mid forward or a mid defender or a forward ruck or someone that I can start in the flex and they are going to be a premium option, I think that is the best tactic to start the season. But yeah, eventually my flex, because my team got so decimated with injury, my flex just became a 0. So I had 22 scores each week. I didn't have my worst score dropping out because I was out of trades with about 4 or 5 rounds to go.
Interesting. I'm just checking who was in my flex position at the end of the year. It was Archie Roberts finished in my flex position, defender mid swing for me. Yeah, okay. I think that's the way that I've lent with the flex position and probably how I'll play it next year. I think you benefit the most, not specifically saying this to, shit on you, Tamo, a little bit, but I think you need to make sure that it is a scoring position that does give you that little bit of a free hit. So I think this is like many things that we talk about in our own end of season wrap ups. We'll probably do an end of season wrap up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we never really spoke about how our teams finished, but I'll give people a bit of an insight. My team was looking like it was going to be finished within a couple of rounds after the first or second bye week, and then I had a nice amount of trays left. I think I had a couple of boosts left over, and then the next 10 weeks I had to use all of those trades. Like it was actually kind of upsetting how quickly my plan looked so good and then looked so bad.
Yeah, so I think planning through that flex position to use it as that, using it with actual flexibility and not having someone or something locked away in there that you can't move around. Because I'm actually also seeing that if you're playing Supercoach NFL, the flex position is a tough position because I look at it and I go, well, I can only really trade this person out. There's very few scenarios where I will be able to move this person around on my field because of whatever reason. So it's very interesting to think of. Jared has also asked us, Damo, he says, also would love to know whether your 2 times VC score and 3 times of C score make you bank a little bit more conservative 100 plus in the finals, and if you have any thoughts or tactics around this. My brain is smooth like a river pebble, Jared. There are no thoughts in here. I am literally picking the guys who I think will score the best. I'm going full on trying to maximize my scores instead of being conservative because I think it's very easy to get an average score in finals by playing too conservative. Damn it.
Yeah. I just pick the best players and stick the VC and C on them. I don't think about it too much.
Finals are really hard to, unlike regular season, they're really hard to have a genuine look and go, I understand this matchup and how this is going to work, because some players are just so much more in finals. I don't know the best way to describe it other than that, but it's almost like there's like a 10-point across the board stat boost on all the characters in that team just because it's the finals, and it's super interesting. Like Jai Newcomb, probably not untouchable, but wouldn't be your first port of call during the regular season, but honestly, so far through the Supercoach final series, has probably been someone who, to the point where I don't feel comfortable not having him in my final side this week, just based on that track history. But he could score 50 this week, and I wouldn't be like, whoa, hang on. So I think you should just go with the 2 players who you think are going to score the most. To think about the logical things like tag, matchups, run widths, but generally, we kind of have a pretty good idea. I don't think there's a reason to get too spicy with it, but don't try to get too boring with it either.
Yeah, 100%.
But thank you for that, Jared. We appreciate you, and we also appreciate you, Harry. I don't know if I told you that, but thank you. And that's it for this episode of the Finals Mailbag, Damo.
Yes.
Is that one of your characters?
No, you've got me distracted. You mentioned Supercoach NFL, and I forgot that it opened up.
It did open up, and you know what else is open right now is you can go over to youtube.com/, is it Moving the Chains, Damo? Have you got moving the chain?
It's MTC Supercoach.
MTC Supercoach. And you can watch Damo's NFL Supercoach show, Moving the Chains, where he tells you everything you need to know about Supercoach NFL. But while you're doing that and while you're listening to Damo talk about NFL, you can head over to your listening platform of choice and give us a rating and review. Helps new listeners find us. It helps make us look good when people try to find the show. But also the best thing you can do is word of mouth. I mean, we've not got too many more shows before the end of the year, but all our follows help, baby. You can also head over to thefootymailbag.net to find all of our social media, but we're on Twitter and Instagram at footymailbag. Damo, where are you?
I am at DamoSC on Twitter, add an underscore after that for Instagram, and like Clarky plugged before, at MTC Supercoach for my Moving the Chains Supercoach NFL YouTube channel. Video going up tomorrow. Tomorrow at time of recording. I didn't have a great week 2 score, so you're going to see I'm going to wriggle my way out of that.
What's a good score?
Ideally,
I think
like
a middle of the road score.
The way the scoring's been going in this early part of the season, I think you want to aim for a score of 500 plus.
Okay, I'm definitely not meeting that, so maybe I'll have to tune in again this week to see how I can fix my team. In the meantime, you can tune into me over at Twitter or at QuantumJC. You can also check out my other podcast, The Falcon, which is at Falcon Footy Pod. Jesse, one of the co-hosts on that show, is an Essendon supporter, so we got his thoughts directly about the Zach Merritt situation. In short, his feelings were Zach Merritt is dead to him. But hey, go over and listen to that. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week for another round of Supercoach Finals. Love you, be good.
See ya.